You've seen the pictures and the memes, Instagram versus real life. But if you think it doesn't apply to screenplays, well, sorry to burst your bubble. The big pushback here is aspiring writers getting hung up on the whole, I gotta keep the reader or the audience guessing, or I can't be predictable. Okay, that is 100% true, but we need to talk about what predictability actually is. And then we were going to get into why you need to meet expectations and a couple of tips to help you do it. So what is predictability? Predictability has to do solely with the plot, and it is about how the events unfold in your story. Predictability has nothing to do with what the events are. It's about how they come about. So let me ask you, were you ever worried that John Wick wasn't going to do what he set out to do? Well, of course not. But what kept you interested was you didn't know how he was going to do it, or how he would navigate the challenges he was going to face, or even what those challenges were. At least you didn't know all of them. Why are biopics a thing? If predictability was about what happens, no one would watch biopics. We know the history, or we can easily research it. We can find out that Oppenheimer built a bomb. Surprise! Or watch any cop movie or show, or any medical movie or show, or a lawyer movie or show, or a superhero movie or show. Are you really that surprised when they catch the bad guy, cure the disease, convict the guilty party, or save the city, nation, or universe? Nope. So why watch if you already know what is going to happen? It's because what is going to happen is not why a story is predictable. What makes them predictable and bad is if we can, knowing with pretty solid certainty what is going to happen, if we can predict how all of it will happen. And when the audience can guess how something happens and then they're right, now the story is predictable. So stop hiding behind not wanting to let the audience know what is going to happen. Please. Superman is probably going to win. And more than that, we go to watch a Superman movie because we want him to win. We want the cops to get the bad guys, for doctors to cure the disease, for lawyers to convict the guilty, for heroes to do heroic things because we as humans have a very strong sense of justice and fairness. It's part of who we are as people. Everyone wants a fair shake. You want to be treated fairly. You want to be paid fairly for your work, respected for what you do, acknowledged when you find success. And even on some level, even though we kind of hate to admit it, we like it when we're held accountable for our actions because we know enough that we learn from our mistakes and it makes us better people. And you want to be treated fairly when it comes to your screenplays. How come some people find success and others don't? It doesn't seem fair, does it? And I'm not going to sit here and tell you life is fair because it isn't. It's life. It's full of ups and downs and rights and wrongs and mistakes and successes and mountaintops and valleys and everything in between. And you are awesome for navigating it. I don't know you, but I know you're alive. And because of that, I know everything for you has not been all rainbows and unicorns and cotton candy in your life. You've had your fair share of hard times. You've made mistakes, and you've had some wonderful moments, and you've had some successes. But if you look back on your life, doesn't matter how old you are, if you look back where you were a few years ago and where you are right now today, you might have been able to predict where you were going to be today. But there's no way you could have predicted how you would get to where you are right now. Maybe your dreams and goals up to this point have come to fruition. Maybe they haven't. But there's no way you could have predicted how they would come to fruition or how they wouldn't, because I bet you had some setbacks along the way. I bet things didn't go as you had planned. Sometimes they might have gone better, other times they might have gone worse, but how you got to where you are now is what has made your life an adventure. And I hope you're learning to savor every moment. Yes, even the ones that are hard, because they shape you into a better person. And the same holds true for the characters you're writing. They may get their goal, but how they get there is probably going to be harder than they originally thought it was going to be. And that's awesome, because those one step forward, two step back moments for characters are what keep your story unpredictable. And while how the events unfold in your story must be unpredictable, there are some of the events themselves that are expected by the audience, by the reader. And if you aren't delivering on those expectations, your script is gonna get a pass. So why you need to meet the expectations is critical to your success as a screenwriter. And the main reason why you need to meet them is because of the primary feeling you want the reader or audience feeling when they get to the end of your script. You want them to feel satisfied. They came to the meal of your screenplay expecting something based on your logline, based on your title, and even based on the tone and style of the first few pages. And if you're promising and implying the expectations are one way, but then you give them something else, they leave your screenplay feeling disappointed, or worse, like you've wasted their time. You promised one thing, you gave them something else. You probably remember a Christmas as a kid when you were expecting one thing and didn't get it. And it didn't matter what else you got that year. It didn't matter. You didn't get the thing you expected, and it ruined your Christmas or birthday or anniversary or Valentine's Day or whatever, or at least made it disappointing. So the real question is, how do you want the audience, the reader in your case, because you're writing a script that's meant to be read, not shot, how do you want them to feel when they get to the end? Disappointed? Like you've wasted their time? Or satisfied? Maybe even looking forward to the next meal of yours that they can consume. And the only way you get those later feelings is for the reader to feel, at minimum, satisfied. And the only way they feel satisfied is if their expectations are met, at minimum. Preferably, their expectations are exceeded. So here's the thing you have to keep in mind. Expectations are not completely concrete things. It's not that John Wick beats the bad guy, okay? It's that John Wick fights the bad guy in a really awesome way. That's our expectation. It's that John Wick is going to have at least one, if not a couple of conversations with Vigo, the bad guy. And John Wick is awesome. There's no way he can be captured or stopped until someone hits him with an SUV, and now he's caught. Because we have this expectation that John is going to win, and yet he's tied to a chair. How is he going to get out? How? Not what. You see, the reason the story works in the first place is because the expectation gives hope to the audience. And hope is what we need to keep watching, as long as there's also fear. Fear that the hero will be thwarted. And yet, we kind of know in the back of our minds that the hero will overcome. We just don't know how. And so we watch and read, worried they won't be able to stop the bad guy, but hopeful they will, because we expect them to. This is why you can kill off strong string characters. We just think they're going to survive along with the hero, until they don't. And an important point, expectations have to deal with the main character. We might have hopes for other characters, but when it comes to expectations, they revolve solely around the main character. And whatever your movie or TV show is, there are 4 to 6 key moments the audience is expecting. If you're writing a type of movie like horror, comedy, action, whatever, those types bring with them expectations. If I go to see a Godzilla movie, I expect to see Godzilla. Now, I may not get to see all of Godzilla full frame and full Godzilla glory until later in the movie. Maybe I only catch glimpses or pieces at first. But rest assured, I'm going to get to see him at some point. All of him. Or her. Is Godzilla a him or a her? I have no idea. If you know, comment below. So what can you do to meet expectations? Well, let me give you 3 things. 1, have a logline and a title that implies the expectations. You should have an idea of what your story is about and be able to communicate it succinctly. But the downside of so many loglines I see is they're so vague. No one has any idea what the story is about when they hear them. But I don't want to give the plot away, people say. So it's not the what you have to keep hidden. You got to remember that. It's the how. So just try your logline out on your friends. Let me give you an example. In the future, wars are not fought by armies, but by individual champions in one-on-one duels. Winner takes all. But Josheb, a legendary champion, refuses to fight for his king, who has a less than center moral compass. Josheb moves to the top of the most wanted list, so it's fight or flight. But Josheb's never really been much of a runner. Okay, now just knowing that, if that became the basic plot for a movie called Duel, you have some expectations. There are moments you are already imagining. We're going to see Josheb fight in a duel, probably going to see him training. We're going to see the king do something very immoral. Josheb's going to rebel. Forces are going to probably hunt for him. There will be altercations with the king. There's probably going to be an inevitable showdown between Josheb and a key rival hired to hunt him down, and then eventually between Josheb and the king. These are the expectations, and you want the reader to have them, and your screenplay better have and deliver on these moments. But how those moments unfold, how the events unfold, okay, that should be a fun ride. The what happens, we know. Those things are coming. They're expected. And it's because the log line and the title give that away. So set expectations with your log line and your title. 2, imagine the trailer. What are a couple of scenes from your script or show that would make the trailer or the promo commercial? And it might not be scenes. It might not just be scenes. It might be lines of dialogue. Not to say that all the big moments would or should be in a trailer or promo. They shouldn't. But what are those moments? You need to know them because they got to be in your story to begin with. And you do know them because you have the idea. There are scenes and moments that you are imagining, that you're excited to write, that you're excited to see. Those better stinking be in the script. And they should be better in the script than you're imagining them right now. And as long as your characters earn those moments because of how they are navigating their lives, those moments will be better. So imagine the trailer or tap into the moments you want to see and hear. And the last way you can make sure you're meeting expectations is let other people read your stuff. And don't ask them whether they liked it or not, okay? If they're your friends, and definitely if they're your mom, they're going to say, oh, I liked it. You need to ask them how they felt. Ask them if they were satisfied at specific points in the story, or if they were disappointed. Ask them if they read it in one sitting or not. Because if you're meeting expectations, someone will want to read it in one sitting. They will want to know how the events happen because they have an expectation of what will happen. And if your characters are engaging and they're struggling to navigate the difficulties they're facing, and yet somehow they're still pushing through, now we want to know how they do it. And it's hard for us to stop reading. So let others read your stuff and get feedback from them on this front. Did it meet their expectations? You can even give them the log line ahead of time and ask, what would you expect if you were to watch that movie? Let them tell you and make sure those things are in your script, but maybe not in the way they would think they would happen. Change the how, but not necessarily the what. Now, of course, there are caveats. Of course, there's exceptions, but one exception that is not true is if a reader feels unsatisfied with your script, it's a pass. And if you aren't meeting their expectations, it's going to be a pass. If you want me to read your script and have a conversation with you about it, I don't just send you a written report. We get on a call and talk about your script and your writing and all of that. I do have limited openings for consultation calls. There's a link below for that, and there's links below for other things if you'd like my help. But if you're curious about the difference between coverage, consultations, and coaching, all of which can help you, and those get misinterpreted and confused a lot with each other, watch this. Thank you for watching. Fun buttons and links below, and when you tell a story, be sure you're meeting the reader's expectations and tell a story that matters. See you later.